All right, now we're really getting to it. Now, regarding assessment tasks, the first major assessment is weekly participation in the tutorials, which is worth 10% of your grade. The participation marks you will receive for the tutorial are based upon evidence of having done the assigned readings, thought about the issues, and contributed and participated in class, including in the simulation, as well as being respectful for other class members in the tutorial. You have to attend at least 7 tutorials out of the 11 that we have to be able to sit the final exam. This is an enforcement mechanism to encourage regular attendance at the weekly tutorials. Regarding participation in the lectures, this is recommended but not required. It's too large of a class to really be able to enforce any kind of participation or attendance in the lectures. Because of the size of the lecture, the number of students enrolled in the class, and due to the size of the lecture halls that we have, each lecture is presented twice. If there is a holiday, as happens twice during the course of the semester, the Monday lecture will be canceled and we'll just hold the one on Wednesday. There'll be an audio recording of the lecture on Echo 360. It is possible that if attendance drops off significantly, I don't expect it to, that we might drop down to one lecture, but right now I'm expecting to have Monday and Wednesday lectures throughout the course of the semester. The second source of assessment are weekly quizzes throughout the semester. They're also worth 10% of your grade, and they're a way to gauge your ongoing understanding of the assigned readings and lecture material. There's 5 quiz questions posted every week. They should be completed before Monday's lecture. However, I will leave it open for a little bit longer. But the reason why I would encourage you to do it before Wednesday's lecture is encourage you to get the most out of the material, because you would be familiar with some of the topics that we'll be covering and allow us to get farther into the discussion of the lecture topics. And the quiz questions are randomly selected from a pool of questions that I upload to Waddle, so that while you can take the quizzes more than once, there's a penalty each additional time you want to take the quiz. A third of the grade is taken off for each attempt, that additional attempt that you take. But the goal is less to really to penalize you for taking the quizzes again, but to encourage you to take the quiz seriously the first time, and also to try to give you an opportunity for regular feedback over the course of the semester, especially in such a large class, that you are up in the material, you're understanding the main concepts, and you can highlight any questions that you have about the material earlier rather than waiting until later the semester when we get towards the exams. Which brings me to the third source of assessment, the midterm exam. Let's see. The exam is doing week 6. It is worth a quarter of your grade. It is basically geared towards evaluating your knowledge of the readings, the lecture, and the course material for the first half of the class, and be able to write clearly and coherently about the course material. I haven't finalized the structure of the exam, and I'll provide a lot more detail about the exam as we get closer to week 6. But there will be different sections: a multiple choice section, a short answer, true-false section, and then one relatively short essay. The exam structure I expect to take roughly 90 minutes, though you should be able to finish around the hour mark for that exam. The fourth type of assessment is the response paper, which is due May 17th at noon. The word limit is 1,000 words. ANU policy is that word submissions, they accept 10% fewer words or 10% more words, not counting footnotes and bibliographies, for written assessments submitted. So it could be between 900 and 1,100 words in substance. It's due at noon to try to avoid any kind of Waddle issues. I've had them do it midnight before, and Waddle ends up breaking down, and some submissions don't go through. But so by scheduling it in the middle of the day, if there are any issues, you can let us know, and we can try to reconcile it without having to have you stress about it overnight. There'll be more details about the response paper, as well as the rubric for the response paper later on in the semester, related to the expected structure and what we're actually looking for. The main goal, substantively, is to try to synthesize your knowledge of the different theoretical approaches to asking and answering the kind of questions that we deal with in this class, and the takeaways from your experience in the simulation and the links that you see between current events, the simulation, and the general theoretical approaches that we see in international relations. The final assessment is the final exam. It's worth 40% of your grade. It is during finals week. We're also providing more details about that. The structure should be pretty similar to the final exam. To the midterm, there'll be more focus on writing an essay and structuring it. You'll be given an essay topic and a number of essay topics, and you'll choose one that's of most interest to you in answering that essay. There'll be more details about that later on in the semester. For the response paper, it is submitted on Turnitin, and I'll be on Waddle, and I'll be creating other videos about how to upload your papers to Turnitin, how to view the comments that we make about your paper, and how to make sure that the work that you do is your own and we don't have to worry about any issues about academic integrity or potential plagiarism. All papers have to be submitted by the due date. The university has a specific policy for late submission for the written work, which in this class is the response paper, and the penalties for submitting a paper late is 5% of the total amount of points due. Out of 100, you'll get 5% off that 100 per business day that you submit late, unless there has been a medical reason that you've notified us about before the due date of the assessment. In those special cases, any kind of penalties will be waived. The maximum late submission possible, though, of course, is 10 business days.